I'm not going to tell you that this movie was a masterpiece, but it was definitely more than I expected. I thought it would be a cliche CGI-filled thriller, but it was much better than that. Even though there are explosions and fire and rioting, I prefer the concept of this movie much more. Because the comments don't matter. At the core, Greenland is about civilization. Meteors have hit, and suddenly the USA is thrust into a state of calamity. Some people are chosen to escape, and the rest? Well, they're left to die. It's heartbreaking to see innocent families with children left behind. It's not new ground, but it's very impactful. Our main characters aren't bad people, but they have to make these insanely hard choices. They're not hard-headed idiots or geniuses or anything, they're just a regular family. That's what the movie boils down to. What do you do when the entire continent is in danger and you're in the middle of it? It focuses on the human psyche during chaos. Society doesn't matter anymore. One state has been hit and suddenly it's everyone for themselves. Society breaks down. Everything we've worked for can become futile in seconds. The intensity only builds up throughout. The airport is at its peak. It's complete anarchy and chaos, and you're left to simply watch in shock. Watching the comet hit is devastating, the definition of thrill. But it's not just the explosions which are thought-provoking, it's the society and the way people react. We have regular people like Gerard Butler and his family who are rejected because of their diabetic son and are trying to get away. You have rioters and criminals raiding the stores in the streets, shooting people down, trying to kill the protagonist just because he has access to the planes. You have people that are kind, willing to take an estranged family with them, and then there are the more extreme people like David Denman's character, who kidnaps the son to try and use his band to get in. From what I've seen, David Denman can't catch a break because he's always turning out to be the bad guy. But just like in The Office, he's not really a villain. He's a normal guy that just makes really bad choices. It's something that you can imagine a real person doing in this kind of situation. He was just looking out for his life and the child's actually. This kind of plot works better than something like The Purge because of its extremities. Sure, people will do bad stuff in The Purge, but the emotion is never really as strong. I'm not saying that Greenland is better or worse than The Purge, but what I am saying is, people don't need to kill and rampage on The Purge. The stakes are entirely different. The Purge focuses more on the insane side of humanity, whereas Greenland is more about survival. If anything, this movie is an example. You don't need to have a desert wasteland or an apocalyptic dictatorship to have the same effect, but society is such a fragile thing that a meteor bombing is exactly the kind of thing that could trigger this mass destruction. The plot grips you because there is enough tension to make you fearful what will happen next. You hang to the characters because they are human enough to relate to. We may never have an apocalypse in real life like this one, but it really makes you think. It takes one day for society to completely break down. I do have to give credits to the actors though. Gerard Butler and Marina Baccarin convey a lot of emotion without ever feeling alien to us. They feel like someone you can know, just a family next door. I think the adultery plotline between them was a bit unnecessary. The husband and wife simply not clicking could have been more than enough to make their bond strengthen over the trip. The child was pretty fine. He was a regular kid all the way through, but this movie would not have been as interesting if they had an extremely cardboard family. We need an emotional core, and that's what we got. The side characters didn't need art because they served as more people stuck in the crossfire. This movie was challenging the idea of mankind. It was challenging ethics and mentality in relationships. Even though the ending is hopeful, we see the consequences of a single day. This movie had excellent CGI for both the comets and the explosions, but the final sequence is really the most shocking. Seeing a scarred world is tragic, but, in my opinion, it would have been better to leave the destruction to the imagination. We have seen this period of terror the world went through, and so I think our imagination would always be scarier than the real result. Leaving the family to go out into the world for the first time in months would have created a greater feeling of both distress and hope, shock at the husk that the world has become, but yet a feeling of optimism as we hear voices of survivors. And the movie fades to white. It's easy to write this off as a CGI action-packed schlock of a disaster movie, and I'm pretty sure many people will. But where Greenland shines over other drama thrillers is in its execution. It doesn't waste time on bad one-liners and over-exaggerated action sequences. It presents us with a family that we grow to know before giving us a simple obstacle. From then on, we rely on drama and thrill as we progress through the plot. It becomes incredibly intense in the first half, depicting both the highest and lowest points of human morale, as well as using its disaster genre to terrify us. And while the plot does slow down in the third act, it's still engaging to watch. I'd give this movie a solid 7.5 out of 10, or 3.5 stars. It was a good thriller that never felt as silly as it should be, and had deeper emotion than face value. I would definitely recommend it. So, thanks for watching. For some reason, Greenland only came out yesterday here in the UK, whereas it came out a few months back for the US. I'm not sure, but if you enjoyed, definitely subscribe. It's free, and I would love to see the channel grow so I can keep doing more stuff in the future. So yeah, okay, bye.